but they can watch it later. Something very big happened to the Juno network, which got like many people afraid. Um, Simply the network halted. It could be worse
Mhm.
because it could be the funds could be stolen. But in this case, just the network was halted because there was certain thing in the code that could be exposed to do so. Is it
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
And
that's right. And I want to say it as okay. So if the hacker's out there, one, you asshole, and then two, now that I've cursed at you a little bit, um, frankly, pretty impressive what was done. Okay, so like this contract called Satoshi Test, it caused a non-deterministic condition across the entire network. Hey,
of
guess what?
course, of
You're
course,
there saying Bitcoin. So I agree on point number one. Bitcoin maxes are right, and I disagree that everything else is a shitcoin. To the YouTube commenter, I really want to say that actually, when it comes to money, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. Like, I own a stake in an active Bitcoin mine. That it's a company that I helped to found. And I think that the common point of confusion is like, for example, is Juno really trying to achieve monetary aims? Well, I would say yes to a degree, right? And I actually spoke with Sonny Argawal about this recently as well. I'll like go philosophical for just a second here. So, in Cosmos, we build these chains that are focused at an application. Juno's application focus is permissionless smart contracts. It also means that the network's very existence is an invitation to attacks like the one that happened recently. Um, and I guess I'll kind of jump back into that, but I really want that YouTube commenter to know that like Bitcoin's simplicity is probably its biggest asset. Bitcoin can't have this problem. And that's because it is so simple. But okay, in Cosmos, we're building something different. It does not have purely monetary aims. There's a monetary aspect to it, and certainly, like stake in a Cosmos chain is valuable. But I don't really see it, say, like as having the same kind of limited value as, say, like Bitcoin or gold. Um, the Juno network, the software, it did the right thing when it hit non-determinism. So, what are we looking for in Cosmos, and like how are we defining determinism? Well, one block should achieve a single exact result, um, and if there are differences, all right, then it should go with 66% of stake weight. All right, the network should tip in favor of whatever 66% finds. And then the other 33% of validators, the remaining ones, would actually fall off of the network. Okay. And then the chain would continue with the 66% of vote power. As time goes forward, if those other validators don't update their software, the 33 that fall off the network, 33% that fall off the network, then they'll be jailed. They'll be removed from active consensus, and 66% of vote power will become 100% of vote power. I actually consider this system really, really good. Um, Now, let's get into a certain phrase that you're probably going to find only in Cosmos. We talk about frequently safety over liveness. Okay? What that means in plain English is like if the network can't determine the state of the successive block, it will stop. And that's what Juno did here. Interestingly, Juno is being brought back to life extra fast. Strangelove Ventures has built a really neat tool for analyzing network faults. In this case, it took a computer with 512 gigs of RAM to simulate bringing the network back up, but that's exactly what happened. Some of our team members at Notional Labs were actually there for that, and it was fascinating. I went to bed a couple of hours before the simulation was run, but it's my understanding that what it did is it replaced all the keys for the top 29 validators in Juno. The 66% is in the top 29. For Cosmos, that's really good. I think that on Osmosis, it's the top 17. Don't quote me on that. And in fact, what you can do if you really want to know, you can go to MintScan, and you just add it up until you reach 66%. And that is basically the number of validators that contribute to the 66% of consensus. Now, there's also another metric that you can use: what divergence is necessary to halt the chain, and that is 34%. So, and of course, actually, these numbers are 2/3 and 1/3 exactly. So, it's not, yeah, it's like 66.66666667 or bar if you want. Bar means just, endlessly repeats, and then 1/3 is 33 bar, endlessly repeating. So anyway, Juno's done pretty good in terms of decentralizing the weight of its consensus. Definitely better than ever. One of the consequences of that was that actually the recovery was fairly hard to simulate. I was there when Andrew from Strangelove was like, "Well, I have 128 gigs of RAM. Let's see how this goes." We could actually see him drop off of Zoom when he tried to run the simulation. We were all together on a Zoom call, just sort of trying to bring the network back to life. So that's that situation, and I should say, like, far as anybody can tell, this was a deliberate attack. To some degree, I appreciate that. What I mean is that, like, keeps us on our toes. The chain halted correctly. No, nothing. None of the state in the chain was lost at all. Um, and one thing I explicitly don't want to get into is like a whodunit, but I will say that the wallet that funded this, here's what we know about it. Okay. So, about 5 or 6 days ago, it was created. And it was created by hitting a mixer on Ethereum. We think the mixer works. We don't think that we are going to be able to tell where the
Something like
original ETH.
I'm sorry, like, because people complain, I will stop you, but I'm doing this for, like, just questions. It's more of
Please
a
stop me. Please
it's
stop
more
me.
of a
Ask anything.
because I think people don't realize it's more for me conversation than interview. So you mean they washed the funds in something like Tornado? There was something like Tornado that helps you to.
I think it was exactly
It's
Tornado, but I'm
called
not certain.
Tornado Cash.
That's
Tornado
correct.
Cash.
Yep.
It's very common. So you put your Ethereum funds there. It mix it with other pool and comes out, and you can't know which wallet was it.
That's the theory, yeah.
Hmm.
And the Tornado Mixer is a pretty interesting piece of software. I
Hmm.
don't know if it's fully effective. And there have been a lot. There's a lot of research on de-anonymizing mixed funds, but
Hmm.
let's say that in this case, that's not really our primary focus as the Juno team, or even our focus at all.
Hmm.
And then after that, those funds were moved from ETH to SIFChain, and from SIFChain to Juno. And when they hit Juno, this contract 184 called Satoshi Test was uploaded to Juno. And then the wallet called that contract something like 500 odd times. The final contract execution was interesting. The reason that it was interesting, okay, so 10 times the gas was applied on it, and the integer value 42 was used. And then, okay, so that block executed. Interestingly, the result was that Juno had 125 forks. So the block ending in 97, the final block there, um, it had 125 separate different values. Now, it looks like this is actually the, the bug we wanted Lupercalia to patch. And so, one lesson learned from this is just to be much quicker with our response in terms of patches. And the, this contract, I mean, guys, let me see if I can pull up that call graph. It's crazy. Um,
You can share the
let's
screens
see.
if you want to do something.
Well,
Tintin
what I'm actually gonna do is I'm
Tin
just gonna I'm gonna
Tin
hold my phone up to the screen.
Tintin just commented, "Who is this idiot here? MIR." I'm not sure
Oh,
if it's me or you,
that's
Jacob.
me. Oh no, we're
Maybe
both idiots, dude. We
maybe
good.
it's me because I don't know. So
I mean, I don't know. And then I don't know what an MIR is, but
yeah.
guys, like,
Uh,
okay, here's the call graph for the contract,
wow, that's
right?
that's that's beautiful.
That it is.
It is beautiful.
But like, I mean, have you ever? Could you even imagine? Like, that's what the software did. Um, so, although it looked like the Hello World contract, it's not quite sure that's not the Hello World contract. I don't know what the hell that is. And another thing that we can work to improve on Juno as a result of this. So, guys, right now, here's how you upload a contract to Juno. You will write your contract code. Oh, that idiot! No, he's not an idiot either. Actually,
He
no. We're the idiots. We're the idiots. And that guy is a Bitcoin maxi. He knows one
I
true light.
so the Zaidmir is like it's been on my channel for many months, and I appreciate him coming to my lives often. So
Ah,
yeah,
wonderful.
we need
All right. Well, look,
opposition.
I'm always down to be an idiot. So, like, the next thing that we can really improve this call graph here. Um, I believe that's after we decompiled the contract. Okay, and I mean, that is insane. Like, oh my god. All right,
It could be
now
piece of art. You could turn it into painting. That's how beautiful it
I
looks.
I should potentially, I'm thinking about printing that, getting it framed, and hanging it on the wall here. That's a good point.
Yes.
Um, hey, thanks so much, man. Um, In fact, I'll jump into like the next piece of like what we can do to
J-
this
Jake
is a systematic thing. Mhm.
Jacob, before we get there, can I want to ask you few questions. So, the person who did it, we're not gonna speculate who did it, but it had to be person that is familiar with WASM, and there is not that many people. So I would assume this is people very well familiar with Juno network, and one could assume that it could be some developer from this wider ecosystem. Not saying Juno network, but Juno Osmosis. It's someone from here, right? And
Maybe.
and
No,
I'm
only maybe.
only maybe, but has to be familiar
Only
with
maybe.
WASM. Has to be familiar with WASM, I guess. Use that's
Um,
because
20
as I know,
people.
20,
20 people.
uh, group of 20 people, or you mean it
No,
one of 20 people?
20 people on Earth who who we know could do this.
So
Um,
so what you mean it? was it difficult to do this contract? You would have to know really well, or
Yeah, yeah. Terra. So okay, check it out. Terra also has Cosmo, but when I say 20 people, right, the attack seemed to involve a detailed understanding of both Cosmosm and Tendermint consensus, and we just think that's a very very small group of people. But here's actually what I said when I was talking with Jake Hartnell, right? Because yes, the 20 people number is like totally accurate. Flip side of this, it's a lot more than 20 very skilled programmers who, if they sat down, could figure this out, right? But it's a large time investment. Like, um, I've met a number of programmers who just learn super fast and super fluidly. Okay, that is not me. Right? It took me years to learn what I know how to do in Cosmos and on other chains as well. So one of these individuals, a shadowy supercoder, let's say, they might have been able to figure out the attack in a day, right? It's a differing mind, but it's a very small group of people um, who would have had like the existing knowledge to do this without learning the stack. Um, I don't think I could have written that actually. So there's that. Now, my Rust skills are not nearly as good as some of the other folks working with CW. I really prefer writing Go. Um, there's a reason too. I'll dig into it for just a second. Reason I like to write Go as a programmer is that the syntax of Go. So like when you're reading it, right? It's not too many symbols and stuff. Reading Rust code is different. It has a lot of symbols, weird little pipey things, and so as a programmer, you need to know how to read all of that. And I'm learning because Rust has super interesting security properties. It is well, I refer to three, maybe four. There's definitely four. There are four what I'd call third generation systems programming languages now. So first was Go, and what Go did is like Go. It has a garbage collector, but the garbage collector is quite fast, and it also allows you to write code pretty close to the metal, and it handles concurrency well. That's like where the application does more than one thing at once, and that lets you get really excellent uh, performance. Need for a central Cosmos team that supports. Oh God.
and there was previous questions. So yeah, like I
Okay.
wanted to let you
Yeah.
speak.
All
So
right. Um,
he started with this. Just a query, guys. Know that Juno Network is live for a while. Is there an operation team which manages production incidents? And is there a defined change process in place when we make changes,
there
like in
is.
traditional IT? And the next part, or if there is no dedicated team for Juno, is there a need for a central Cosmos team which supports live chains operations,
All right,
incidents,
Tintin.
etc.?
This is really interesting stuff. Actually, ready, Tintin? Let's go. So I think Cosmos may actually be the second most used open source product around, with of course the largest use one being the Linux kernel. And I think that we're at least as decentralized as the Linux kernel. But as for the question about like, is there a team in place to handle production incidents? Yes, yes, absolutely. And like, hi, I'm in it. In fact, there's two. Okay, there's the core one team, there's the core two team, and so like there's that, and yes, we have a standard like well, there was no standard incident response pattern until this, but now we have one. and I'll even share that I needed to learn that. Okay, so like throughout this attack, I've been watching, uh, you know, Jack Zampolin's sort of like template pattern for dealing with it. So if there were another one that would happen, I'd be able to sort of follow this pattern. Now, is there a need for a central Cosmos team that deals with this stuff? The answer to your question is that there sort of already is one, but it's not central. Okay. So it was 35 people in the end that joined the Telegram group to bring Juno back. And I want to give a lot of thanks to like people who joined from other Cosmos projects. Frederico from Evmos, Sonny from Osmosis, Dave from Osmosis, um, uh, Onur, and I believe that Onur, and in fact, I'm so sorry, man, I'm probably killing Onur's name. Joined, I think he's from ICF, the Strange Love Ventures team, our team at Notional. So like, and by the way, guys, I'm definitely forgetting people. Okay, so like, what I'm saying is that when this occurred, we all jumped on it and treated it like a mutual problem. Dave from Osmosis even wrote up like, "Oh my god, such a beautiful guide to decision making in the process." Um, like so he said, well, basically, I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to this right now, but here's what I've done. I've um, typed up for you guys like how to guide your decision making because of course we've had to wonder about how we would treat this if this were to happen to osmosis because this can happen to any tendermint chain because we've made the design choice of safety over liveness. So because we've made that design choice, the chain, any chain, will stop when it can't come to agreement. um, there's one thing that I'd like to talk about, like kind of unprompted by anybody, that I think can prevent this from happening in the future or improve the situation. I think it's quite important. That is transparency in contract code. This is technical as hell. I'd like to walk you guys through it. Okay. The coder of a CosmWasm smart contract, they write code in Rust. All right, so you've written your contract, and a contract, guys, is just a little plain computer program. In CosmWasm, we take that Rust code and we compile it to WASM. WASM is WebAssembly. Okay, it's a portable, sort of like execution format that can be targeted using what's called LLVM. That's a compiler designed by the folks at Mozilla. Basically, they wanted to make web apps faster, and as a result of that, they ended up inventing this really, really useful portable bytecode. When I say portable, I mean you can run it in many places in different styles. Now, all right, you have your WASM. You can upload that WASM to Juno, and you can instantiate and execute that WASM code. Here's the thing: you don't have to share your source code. Okay. Now, on Ethereum, if you use one of the ERC standards, it's really easy to decompile the contract back to the original code. If you don't, it's far harder, but still, I would say that Solidity decompiles more readily than WASM. And so, one change that I know that the Juno, well, they're not the Juno security DAO. This is a DAO, guys, that I had a call with around the time they were forming up, dedicated to security incidents in Cosmos. And during this event, they asked about um, Tintin. I'm not sure that really works with the way that we operate in Cosmos, but I'm going to finish this up real quick, and then I will respond to you, Tintin. So the DAO, um, what I said is, guys, I think that I'd really like to discuss with you guys contract transparency as a key issue behind all of this. Having like really clear contract code, knowing what you're running, is important. About 10 days ago, I had incident to decompile a contract. Woo! It wasn't too pretty. So I'm hoping to create a nice pattern in Juno where we're able to match contract bytecode in WASM to the source code in Rust. It's our understanding that if you use the same version of Rust, it's deterministic. You'll get exactly the same output, and that's what you want. So that's something that I think that we can really do to improve stuff. Now, Tintin, I'd like to respond. When network will be perfect? Never, because people make it, right? And we don't make perfect
I
stuff.
want to say the perfect things do not exist. Perfect thing is an utopia, and that never ends well. The
Yeah,
perfect
right.
thing is the dream of people. But if you try to push your idea and that dream too hard, you will not find the common consensus for it, and it will collapse. That's my belief.
So I agree with you, and it's just you've got to keep in mind that like all of these chain systems are made by humans, right? And like we make mistakes. End of story. We try really, really hard to get it as close to perfection as possible, but uh, please definitely assume that Juno will never be perfect. Utopias end well if you die early enough. I don't know, man. I want to live to about 140, please. All right, 1010. Let's roll. You had a thing. And it seems that Marcin can bring your question or comment up. Okay. There is no set process and a dedicated team. Um, Couple of points here. Uh, Tintin, I'm not really sure that okay. So the process for incident management, it would vary from incident to incident. There's the possibility of like other malicious smart contracts. I'll just give you an example, right? A lot of money in that Fortis Economa thing. Tintin, imagine you code something up to steal that, right? So that'd be a very different type of incident from this one. By the way, I'm not saying Fortress Economy is insecure. I am merely using it as an example. It's probably totally fine, right? But like, okay, there's a theft. All the FOT monies are gone, right? And so like, we would be making that process as we go. And actually, I think that's the correct thing to do. Juno is exposed to a really, really wide scope of issues because it can execute arbitrary code, right? Anybody can upload anything, and we wanted it that way. That was our desire, okay? But because of that, the scope of security threats against Juno is like practically infinite. So I'm not certain that a set or fixed process would necessarily benefit it, but what we do get here is a bit of precedent. Okay. So, like, if the chain were to go down again because of non determinism, let's say, right, then we'd have a template and a pattern to follow. And I hope this kind of addresses your concern, Tintin. In terms of central funding, we sort of suck at that in Cosmos, like overall. Um, that might be a good thing, though, because what we're doing is we're building all these different chains. They each have their own treasury, and then they each have their own funding priorities. And I think that's a really good thing.
Um, can I ask you? And there will be few other questions. I want to go back to
Please, got
the
6 minutes left here.
yeah. I That's why I want to squeeze the. So regarding the attack, I was watching the game of notes, and they said the upgrade was ready nearly month before. But what I would think that the person knew about the upgrade, and probably this contract was ready ages before. And it also seemed that this person that did the maybe attack, they knew the network will halt, of course. Would you consider this was just a mere joke of the person, or like really some malicious activity? And also, like, the attack happened just minutes after the Wolf contract tweeted that the upgrade is going to happen in like 6 hours or something. So it seems they had it ready and they were just waiting. Like, maybe not month before, because you said the wallet was created 6 days before. But would you say it was just a
Well,
joke?
we don't, we don't know. And this, guys, this is why I really want to match source code to compiled Blossom, like as much as possible. Um, because, like, yeah, actually, so Fabian, I'm 100% with you. Okay, like this is going to help in a number of dimensions, and provided that when we get back up, the channels in and out of osmosis operate correctly, this will be a huge vindication of the safety over liveness design. Because what it basically means is that, like, we're able to diagnose a situation where there is non-determinism, fix that, and then successfully come back up. That's really a big deal to me. And, actually, Fabian, one thing I will say is, like, I never really think about it as funds or money, because then also, like, your brain will melt, right? Because I was working on a $1.25 billion problem, right? And then your brain will just completely melt out of your ear. I've seen it happen, right? Like one time I had to put my brain back in after it melted out. Um, but like basically, I think about it as accumulated state, right? And that it's the data that's sacred, and not even like the money. And yeah, it's super cool because the attacker was not in any way, shape, or form able to successfully corrupt data prior to the block ending in 97, which is the last one that we've produced. Um, so that is, basically all of that. I think that after we're back up,
Go on, go on. I just
well, no, I'm just reading the question. Um, yeah, Nazru,
I
what can I say? The network did what it's supposed to do. This is the design we believe in. This is the design that, like, the engineers have put years into. Basically, a system that when a problem is seen, the network just straight up stops. Okay? So, like, oh, here's an interesting thing. Talk about the whole cosmos suffering. Yesterday, Sonny Argowal made a really interesting point. He was like, no, no, we're sure that the decline in Juno prices has caused a decline in Osmo prices. I'm like, ah, right? I'm like, eh? And he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, check this out. So what he said was, when somebody wants to exit a Juno position, they typically sell in the Juno Osmo pool. Okay, now they've got Osmo, right? And then they exit via UST, which then drags down the price of Osmo. It was a fascinating conversation last night on updates from the lab. He just bought Juno at 44, and now it's half. Sir, I feel you. I do. The ELI 5 on ICA. Nicholas, if you're cool with it, I'm super happy to go through it with you, but actually, I've got to jump now. So potentially, like on my and Marchin's next call, we could go through interchain accounts, which are going to be freaking epic. So, the tiniest summary, writing my one word summary, one
Yeah,
sentence summary
just
of
want to
ICA
say
before I go.
Jacob is rushing, so like we can't really answer maybe anything, but for sure there will be more stuff. So any technical stuff you want to learn, that there will be time for it. That was just like the update on the incident.
Oh, sir. Yeah, investing is a harsh world. Um, the last commentary about buying Juno at a high price, and like now they're like Juno doesn't even exist technically at this moment. I do believe that Juno's gonna do its happy thing, back in the happy direction, and thank everybody for watching. I'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob.
Yep.
We'll speak again soon. Enjoy your next call. Thank you for the update. Bye
Thanks a
bye,
lot.
everyone.
Catch you guys later. Bye.